What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. Still buzzing after yesterday's massive win against Liverpool. A massive win not just because we beat top of the table Liverpool, a team that really hasn't lost a game all season unless you count that travesty of a game they played against Spurs. A team that has totally been rejuvenated since summer and the rebuild in the midfield. They've brought players in who've settled so quickly and they've swept all before them, battering Chelsea 4-1 just before playing us. It was an outstanding performance. That's why we're buzzing, because in the first half, they managed to come in at half-time 1-1, even though they hadn't had a shot on target. And this was domination. This was Arsenal at our very best. Some very controversial decisions that paid off. Arteta putting Jorginho in the midfield and Kai Havertz up front. I know Kai Havertz is his detractors. He's going to divide the fan base until something special happens or we sell him for a loss. Either way, I'm not going to talk about all of those things. What I'm going to talk about, though, is how it's gone from being top at Christmas with loads of hope and enthusiasm, then, of course, losing games against West Ham or Fulham, and then the FA Cup game against Liverpool, where, again, we dominated them completely in the first half, but just couldn't make our chances count. And then in the end, they got 2 late goals to sink us. That enthusiasm disappeared, and suddenly all you could hear was the loud noises about how we weren't good enough, we crumbled, we'd gone backwards, we didn't have that fighting spirit. I don't think either. I think from the optimism of Christmas to the despair of the post-FA Cup game, and then the 5-0 win over Crystal Palace wasn't enough, and Nottingham Forest wasn't quite good enough. So yesterday seems to have come as a massive surprise to a lot of people that we can beat a team like Liverpool, forgetting that we've beaten Manchester City at home. And now all the talk again is about Arsenal as title contenders. And this video really is an attempt to just kind of address the balance and bring a little bit of sanity into it. So I'm asking the question, can Arsenal win the league this season? It's looking ever more likely that it's going to be a 3-horse race, which is very unusual in the Premier League. I can't remember the last time it was this close or looked like being this close right up until the end. But I've just watched Manchester City absolutely destroy Brentford, despite an incredible first half where Brentford took the lead, and it was only in the dying minutes that Phil Foden scored an equaliser. I think there were about 18 corners in the first half, total dominance by Manchester City, and you kind of hoped that maybe they would do what we sometimes do, which is control the game and somehow not find a way to win. Of course, Brentford had won home and away against City last season, a real anomaly, but every team can beat every team is a cliche. So are Arsenal in a realistic title chance? Are Liverpool going to win it this season? I've had a look at the remaining fixtures, and what worries me really isn't necessarily the way that Manchester City have stayed in touch and potentially, if they win their 12:30 kickoff against Everton on Saturday, can actually go top of the table. They've done all this without Kevin De Bruyne. They've done it with Erling Haaland injured for large portions. Of course, they had that blip where Rodri wasn't playing. But it wasn't just that Phil Foden was outstanding today and a man-of-match performance. There were moments from Kevin De Bruyne where I was asked earlier in the live I did with Lee and Scott if I would swap Odegaard for Kevin De Bruyne. And to be honest with you, I think it's a ridiculous question. The hope is that Martin Odegaard could one day become the player Kevin De Bruyne is. For my money, the Premier League has seen very few players who can compete with Kevin De Bruyne in terms of winning mentality and just artistry, the ability to control a game. Manchester City, though, the huge difference isn't necessarily in the first 11, but when you look at that bench, you know, spent 100 million on Grealish, he's on the bench. You've got Oscar Bob, who every time I've seen him looks absolutely dynamic and wonderful and a real troublesome package for any team facing him. But then you've got John Stones, you've got Akanji, and Doku. Doku came on, didn't look that great, but what an exciting player he's turned out to be. That's the quality of their bench. On our bench, you don't see anything similar. You don't see anything similar at all. They have Stones and Akanji on the bench, and we have Jacob Kivior. Yes, Tomiyasu's coming back. Hopefully Timber can play some part in the season. And who knows, Thomas Partey may one day be fit again. But this season has 15 games left in it. And when I project out where I think Arsenal will finish, I think we will drop points. I'm pretty sure we'll beat West Ham on Sunday, but you never know, do you? It could be another game like last season. Manchester City, though, when you look ahead at their fixtures, it's really hard for me to see them dropping any points. So my forecast is, with the remaining games, if they go the way I'm expecting, Manchester City will finish the season on 87 points, which is not special by their standards, but it is a pretty good points tally. I think Liverpool and Arsenal will finish on 82 and 81 respectively. And here's the thing. That's how close it is. I'm forecasting that we will go to the Etihad and lose that. And, tear me down if you want to. Call me a pessimist. I'm just saying what I think will happen. Not what I want to happen. What I want to happen is a 1989 style smash and grab up at the Etihad that leaves it really close in the run-in. And even though when you look at our run-in, it's pretty brutal, actually. We've got Spurs and Manchester United in the last 4 games. But we could still win those. But I think if we go to the Etihad and win, then it's up for grabs, to borrow a term. But the reality is that we will probably finish 2nd or 3rd behind a Manchester City who've swept all before them. They would have won the Sextuple if it wasn't for us winning the Community Shield. There are very few teams in history that do that. They could well be on their way to the 4th Premier League title. For all of you people out there that are criticising Arteta for not beating this Manchester City, Jurgen Klopp talked about it. Jurgen Klopp will likely retire from Liverpool having won 1 Premier League in 8 years. And I'm not saying that's not a fantastic achievement. He's got a Champions League. He's got other cups to go with it. He's been immense. But he's tired. He's exhausted in trying to keep up with Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola has assembled a team which I don't think anyone fancies beating. They don't have the kind of slip-ups in them that we do. They don't have a bench where you look at it and think, God, I hope everyone stays fit. I'm looking at Saliba's performances in the last couple of games where he's been muscled off the ball and thinking, I hope he's not feeling a twinge in his back. I hope we don't lose Gabriel. I can't think of who we would replace Saliba with right now. Zinchenko came off at half-time. Jakub Kiwior had a really good second half, but he's still not somebody you'd expect to do well if you had to have a run of 5 or 6 games. And Tomiyasu's been injury-prone. I'm not sure we will see Thomas Partey. What happens if we do lose Gabby Jesus for a long period of time? Because Kai Havertz, I think, depends on whether you think he played a blinder by pulling people out of position and leaving space to run into. Jorginho, great player. I mean, does he have 10 games in him before the end of the season? This would be a really amazing performance. This would be an amazing achievement for Arsenal if we went on to win the league from here, because it would mean that we most likely had gone to the Etihad and beaten them. And that in itself is a huge achievement that not many teams manage. When the pressure's on this Manchester City team, they've been there, done it, they've got the t-shirt and they're calm throughout it. We're not quite there yet. Maybe we do have to wait for Pep Guardiola to take an international job or to perhaps take the England job. My fingers are well and truly crossed. But I'm not just judging Arsenal's season on whether we win the league or not. I'm judging it on how well we compete. And we can definitely put a run together now if we get behind them. What was fantastic about yesterday was through all of the online social media haters talk about Arteta not being good enough and how we haven't bought enough and done enough and nothing's ever good enough. Leave that to one side. Watch the fans who were at the Emirates, who played their part in that victory, who sang their hearts out and got behind the team. I saw Boovy talking about how Arsenal can't be a big club because one of our fans was crying at the Champions League music. Now, listen, I'm not a big fan of crying at football, but it's an emotional game and we let our emotions just take over. That's the part of the joy of it, it's a release. Yes, we over-celebrate. Yes, we acted like we'd won the Champions League when we beat Liverpool. But that's because we have joy in our game. And we're the underdogs. And that's where the joy is. We're not looking over our shoulder at who's going to take our crown. We're chasing desperately hard after it with everything we've got. And if it doesn't happen this season, I still have hope for next season. I do believe that we're in a process. And I said this on the cast earlier. If you'd been, let's say, at the game, Unai Emery's last game in charge against Frankfurt, and leaving the Emirates that night, half-empty Emirates at that, you'd been hit by a car and you'd been put into a coma, and you woke up yesterday, just after we beat Liverpool, you'd think it'd been a hell of a transformation. You'd be happy and you'd be excited where we can still go with this young team. And that's where I'm at. So if that doesn't result in trophies this season, that's fine. We've got memories from this season. We beat Man City at home, we beat Liverpool at home, and certainly at the end of the Wenger regime, the top 6 games were always games you just didn't want to watch. And that's not us anymore. We're changing. We haven't changed over We haven't changed overnight. It's foolish to expect that. For me, Man City, for me, the best chance we've really got of winning the league is if Pep Guardiola decides he's had enough halfway through the season. Or maybe if Kevin De Bruyne. But I'd rather be us than anyone else. I think we're in a better position than Liverpool, and we played better than them yesterday, so at least we have that going for us. Let me know in the comments if I'm far too pessimistic, if you believe we are going to win the league this season. Also, let me know if it's just not good enough. If I'm displaying toxic positivity, it might be the very reason we don't win the league. It might be my fault we might go to Man City and not win. I'm sorry about it if it is, because that's the last thing I'd want. Let me know in the comments. And also, look, I don't really ask for likes during the video, but if you've watched to this point, do smash a like. It's the currency of YouTube. It helps other people find the channel, and it means the world to me. And we're on 800 subscribers. Why not make yourself 801 if you haven't already so far? All my love. Speak to you soon. Till I see you again. Be lucky. Lots of love.